Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Backlot Banter, the box office recap show by your two favorite box office
Ours
experts.
truly.
Ours truly, indeed. I'm your host, Tanner Dexter, joined by my dear friend and co-host, Tucker Hazel.
Yes.
We are here to close out the year of 2023 and talk about the box office ballyhoo of December 2023.
A lot of ballyhoo this last
A
month.
lot of value. Lots of movies releasing in December, as there often is. Lots of people trying to take advantage of that holiday box office. Some of them have succeeded. Some of them did not. We'll get into all of it. But before we do, of course, I'd like you to subscribe to Backlot Banter for more movie-related videos, reviews, discussions, box office recaps, such as this that you're watching right now. Also, if you want to talk about any of those topics, or video games, or comics, or music, or if you're getting a pump in now in the new year, trying to cut down on some holiday eats, body fat that you may have accumulated. You can join our Discord server. That is...
Let us know in the comments how much body fat you accumulated.
You don't have to do that. My point being, you can talk about anything with us there in our Discord server. That link for the channel is down in the description.
Correct.
Tucker, I'm sure we'll have a comment topic for you to comment down below, dear
By
viewer.
the end of the Well, I already did, yeah, body fat.
No. We don't have to do that. But today, Tucker, you know what we do have to do?
Talk about ballyhoo?
Talk about ballyhoo, the ballyhoo, the December ballyhoo.
Gosh, what an interesting month we lived through here. Warner Brothers, Godspeed to them, released 3 major theatrical releases this month, and they won. No one else really even tried, to be honest. But top 3 films from this top 10 domestic openings are all from Warner Brothers, which I don't know if any other single company has ever had the top 3 releases in a month.
I don't know.
Which is nuts. But we were very wrong.
Oh yeah,
About what we thought was going to be making money.
Let's slow down a little bit. Let's do our top 10 recap like we often do. Number 1 is, of course, Wonka. It wonked the box office. Everyone was wonking to the beat, all right, of Wonka, with a grand whopping total of $39 million in its opening weekend, followed closely by 2 other Warner Brothers features, The Color Purple with $29 million, and Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, $27.6 million.
Now, if some of these numbers seem a little bit strange, it's under the context that December is a very weird movie-going month.
Yeah.
All these movies released on top of each other, and they also released on like weirdly staggered days. The Color Purple released on Christmas, which is a much bigger movie-going day than when Aquaman and Lost Kingdom released just a few days earlier, in terms of people are not going to theaters as much on the December 22nd, 23rd, 24th.
I mean, as we'll get to, The Color Purple had a massive opening day.
A huge fall off.
Yeah, exactly. We'll get to that in due time, though.
But also,
what?
Beyonce
also released at the very beginning of the month. Tucker, let me tell you, that these early December movies feel like an eternity ago.
Absolutely.
Renaissance opened to 21.8. The Boy and the Heron, Miyazaki's newest film, opened to 13. And the 6 through 10 there are Illuminations, Migration, Godzilla -1, The Boys in the Boat, an Indian film, Animal, and Anyone But You.
Yep. But Tanner, we were, again, I just had
way off.
We were really, really incredibly
Way
wrong.
off.
Now, again, this does have to be filtered through. Opening weekends are very strange in December in terms of where popular movie-going days and not popular movie-going days end up landing. So Aquaman and Lost Kingdom got stuck with a down period regardless. If it had opened on that Christmas Day slot, it would have done way better.
Its opening weekend is the 22nd through the 24th, which is Christmas Eve.
Which is a very down period.
Yeah, and then Christmas Day is a massive spike.
Yes. So the only movies on here that were really unfettered by this are Wonka and Renaissance, because they released before any of that nonsense even happened.
Yeah.
And so Wonka just undisputably won.
Yeah.
With The Color Purple doing great for its opening day, Aquaman being knocked down a little bit. Wonka was released and did very good on its opening day.
Yes.
And Renaissance did as well, just earlier.
Well, we should talk about Renaissance, and I think that's one of the first ones that we'll talk about after we get to our,
Wait, hold on. I just want to see.
Oh, sure.
So none of us got top 5. Actually, we had the exact same top 5.
Yeah.
None of us got 5 correct.
No.
And none of us had any placements correct either.
No.
Oh, actually, no. We both had Renaissance in 4th place, so that's 1 out of 5.
Perhaps
20%.
Perhaps the worst we've ever done, Tucker.
Oh, absolutely.
I do want to point out, dear viewers, if you recall the November episode, I think I remember saying I'd really like to put Boy and the Heron at number 5, but I just don't think I can justify it. And I should have justified it. I really should have. Anyway, Tucker, the Cinema Score and Rotten Tomatoes score comparisons for this month. Very tightly packed A tier, because there are a lot of great films that released.
This was a very good month for movies. A lot came out, but it wasn't, for the most part, a lot of crap.
Yeah.
I mean, we see 3 movies in the below fresh on Rotten Tomatoes down there. Anyone But You, Silent Night, and Aquaman: The Lost Kingdom, all not great movies. Well, Anyone But You is better than those other two by a significant margin. But everything else, just people liked. The lowest stuff here was B, and very sad that Ferrari happens to be at the exact same level as Aquaman: The Lost Kingdom.
Yeah, that's a little sketch to me. But yeah, I mean, you look at this. Yet the likes of Boy and the Heron, Godzilla -1. You really enjoyed Migration. I haven't seen it yet. Color Purple is up there in A. That's going to be a big crowd pleaser, and Wonka also is a big musical crowd pleaser kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good month.
Very good month.
And the cinema scores and Rotten Tomatoes scores reflect that, which is nice.
I mean, I also look at the compilation of the certified fresh at the very top there.
Lots of movies certified fresh this month.
Yeah. All right. Godzilla -1.
That's where it started. $86 million. The highest grossing live action Japanese film in U.S. history.
Yeah.
What the hell happened? Holy shit, that's crazy.
I mean, obviously there's all sorts of records being broken by Godzilla -1. And as we'll get to in just the following week with The Boy and the Heron released, also a Japanese film. Very interesting month for international films, specifically Japanese films at the box office.
Because Japanese films don't really open big in the U.S. We've seen Indian films start to break in more and more. But Japanese films outside of the anime releases, with Dragon Ball and One Piece and Demon Slayer, we've seen a couple of these anime
these things
releases.
with inbuilt fan bases in the U.S. From Crunchyroll dubs and what have you.
And you can see that sort of bleeding over into Japanese Godzilla and Ghibli films being able to open very solidly here.
I mean, and what's
still stay popular. Both these movies are still in theaters.
Exactly. What's interesting to me as well is that Godzilla -1 kind of came out of nowhere.
Yes, absolutely did.
I mean, it really was just like a surge of maybe like a couple days before its release. Everyone was like, Godzilla -1 is apparently amazing.
Yeah,
and
it was.
Yeah, it was amazing, and it got a very decent theatrical rollout.
98% Rotten Tomatoes.
And then just incredible word of mouth for this thing.
Yes, and that's why it's still in theaters.
Yeah,
is word of mouth. I mean, I saw this movie just over a week ago for the second time, completely packed theater.
Yeah,
in like a normal sized screen theater. Like this wasn't like 20 people are sitting in a tiny screen. This is. Everyone was going to see it almost a month after it came out.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, as you mentioned, the highest grossing live-action Japanese film in the United States. Now, it also has a number of other records, such as the largest IMAX opening in Japan. It is the biggest foreign debut in North America of the year. What
does that mean? Debut?
As in like the biggest opening for a international film this year.
What? Boy and the Heron's above it.
Well, wait, it was.
what did you just?
No.
What happened there?
I don't know. I think that fact was probably on the Wikipedia.
Oh, and
before Boy and the Heron.
Oh, sure, that makes sense.
So it was for a week.
Yeah,
it was the biggest international debut of the year. It also is the highest-grossing Japanese Godzilla film. It hasn't beat any of the American films yet, though it is far better than all of those American films.
Absolutely is.
And the big story about this film is the budget.
Budget.
Yeah, which we skimmed over. Had a domestic opening of 11.4 on a $15 million budget. Now, director Takashi Yamazaki said of that $15 million budget, because that was a huge talking point in the box office media. They asked him about it. I was like, how'd you get that? We've heard that the budget is $15 million. How'd you get it down that low? How'd you work on that budget? And he said reportedly, I wish it were that. I wish I had $15 million for this movie.
Now, I don't know. It's hard to this has not been decided of what this quote actually means, because what you wrote down, and I think that's the actual quote, I wish it were that much, that does not indicate if it was actually lower or higher.
Exactly.
And so I think there's a lot of trickery going on here.
Yeah.
It could either have been stupidly low, and then even scarily more, how did this actually end up getting made for that cheap? Or it could have been higher and then subsidized by the government and be like, actually, maybe it's not profitable.
Yeah.
That is totally possible. If this movie in reality cost them $150 million, just spitballing there, because it does look like a big budget, great CGI movie, then maybe it hasn't even made money back.
Yeah.
If it's just been subsidized to shit by the Japanese government, it could be, I wish it were that much, is, oh God, I wish we were able to make it for that cheap, and therefore it'd be profitable. But on the books, it is profitable, regardless of what it actually costs to make.
And of course, another thing with that, if we are going with the line of thinking that it is a very surprisingly low budget,
maybe even lower than $15 million.
That a lot of people have brought up, stories and anecdotes about the treatment of CGI workers in Japan, how they are even much more overworked than the CGI workers here in the United States.
Yeah.
So. Take it all with a grain of salt. We're not exactly championing all the producers of Godzilla -1 here, despite the fact that they made a very, very good film.
Yeah, Shin Godzilla had a budget of around $10 million.
Yeah.
Which is interesting that it seems like there's a track record of Toho's budgets being either just this amount or being subsidized down to this amount. Unclear. I don't know if we'll ever know. I do assume that there's some government subsidizing going on here to get it to this level. But this is a bigger budget than Shin Godzilla. But it's even more successful. So, but also now we have two great modern Toho Godzilla movies.
Hey.
I'm not complaining.
I'm not complaining either. All right, opening that same weekend. Tucker.
We saw it the same day, right?
Same day.
Oh God.
Silent Night. We started with Silent Night.
Yeah.
Treated ourselves to Godzilla -1 as a dessert.
Very good order to do that.
Yeah. Silent Night.
I would have been even more mad at Silent Night.
Massive critical and financial flop here on a budget of $20 million has made only not even 11. I think at this point it's probably 11 with the with the numbers trickling in here. But no one's going.
How is numbers trickling in?
I don't know.
I think it left theaters probably 2.5 weeks after.
It's got to be on VOD here coming soon.
Maybe, yeah.
But yeah, opening weekend of only $3 million, at 58% on Rotten Tomatoes. No cinema score for this thing. It was, of course, supposed to be John Woo's triumphant return to Hollywood, to American cinema.
But no, it finished 9th in its own domestic opening weekend.
Finished 9th opening weekend. Yes, it was John Woo's first.
Projected to make 6 to 8, and then it made 3.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. His first movie in 20 years.
Yeah, I got to say one thing about the
Hollywood
numbers.
film in 20 years.
One thing about the numbers here.
Yeah.
58% on Rotten Tomatoes and 5 on IMDb is generous. That's way too high.
That's
way too high.
I would tend to agree.
I think this would be a perfect. If I saw like a 23 on Rotten Tomatoes, I'd be like, good.
Checks out.
That's what it deserves.
Checks out.
And we gave it a 1.5 in terms of our average score. And I was just checking because I thought this would be our lowest rated movie that we'd reviewed this year, but it's actually 2 lower, which is
Exorcist and
Expendables 4.
Yeah.
We saw some crap this year, and this was one of them.
This was one of them.
This is a really, really, really bad movie.
Yeah, I mean, Tucker, in our humble opinion, deserving of that, shall we say, tepid reception from the public.
No, flaming.
Yeah. Anything else to say about Silent Night and its reception, Tucker?
I mean, there's not even anything interesting about this. This is a bad movie that a legendary filmmaker put out, and he just made some bad creative decisions, and he paid the price for it. I mean, this movie lost a bunch of money. And good because it's bad. And if he made a better movie, maybe it would have been profitable.
Maybe. Also, that weekend was Renaissance, a film by Beyonce, directed by Beyonce, the global superstar sensation, with a grand total of, so far, I think it's probably out of theaters at this point as well, $43.6 million. It is the second big concert film of the year. 2023 then marked the first year that 2 concert films debuted at number 1 at the box office. Because obviously these were both huge cultural moments. Renaissance, of course, to a lesser degree, because it had this is really what surprised me, Tucker. A 77% drop in its second weekend. It's a huge drop.
I think the indicator here is not only that Beyonce is less of a star than Taylor Swift is, at least in the current moment, but that this movie the Renaissance was not marketed as well as Eras Tour.
I would agree.
Never saw a trailer for this. Might have seen a poster. I just think people didn't know about it, to be honest.
Yeah. It certainly received less hype than the Eras Tour film did. Yeah, it was also. I think it was. It had a similar sort of announcing thing as Eras Tour did. Not necessarily like telegraphed months and months before it came out. It had maybe a month or so of marketing. It was announced on September 30th.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And Eras Tour did the same thing. It announced itself like a month, a half, maybe 2 months before it came out. Again, a direct distribution deal with AMC theaters, like the Eras Tour had, but just could not recreate that smash success of Taylor Swift.
But still very well received, 97% Rotten Tomatoes, and is profitable. I mean, made almost 3 times its budget. So.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I could not find exact numbers on the budget for Renaissance, a film by Beyonce. So I went with roughly what the Eras Tour cost.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
I mean, again, it's just the same thing of like filming the concert itself.
Yeah, I mean, from what I know about the two films, though, I actually think this might cost a little bit more because there's more variety in the filmmaking. They had to do documentary stuff.
There's a lot more behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
And the editing is a lot more intensive, I should say.
Yeah.
So I just went with around 15 million.
But regardless, I think this was probably profitable.
Yes,
that's
probably.
a tongue twister there. But yeah, just I mean, I didn't say it, and frankly, I don't really care. But like, I am glad that there is a new injection of intrigue into going to theaters for specifically this, because something that we've been seeing more and more over the last couple of years is people only come out to see certain films in theaters, certain kinds of films, and that diet of what the average moviegoer goes to see has been getting smaller and smaller over the years. But live filmed concerts, be able to see them on the giant screen, that seems to be something that people actually do have an appetite for that has not been tapped into for a long time. I mean, like, I think the last popular concert film, and not even anywhere near as popular as the Eras Tour, I think maybe similar to Renaissance here, was like Justin Bieber back in like the late 2000s.
Yeah, I remember us talking about that before the Eras Tour. Was previously that was the highest grossing concert film of all time.
That's a long time ago.
Was the Never Say Never Tour.
Yeah.
And Tucker, I was going to look up something here really quickly because the one last thing I had here was that it has the second best domestic debut for December week 1, which is notoriously a low point for the box office. These studios are like, we're saving our films until closer to the holidays. We just came off of the Thanksgiving holiday. It's really a lull.
Yeah.
So a good time for something like this to sweep and come in there.
Yeah.
I was going to look up what the number 1 is because I remember I was going to quiz you on it. But
I'm not going to be able to guess that. I don't know what movie's released in December, and I also assume this is going to be a movie from 2013 or something. This is I don't know what's released in December 2013.
Okay.
Anything else here? That was signed a direct distribution deal with AMC.
Yeah.
I believe.
I
believe Eras Tour did something similar.
I said that a little bit earlier. Is that you're basically copying the Eras Tour sort of distribution rollout kind of thing. Is that it was announced, relatively close to its release date, signed a direct distribution with AMC. Other theater companies followed suit.
Also interesting to note that significantly less popular internationally, and that's something that Taylor Swift was able to be boosted by. Is that there's a lot of popularity of the Eras Tour overseas, but just didn't have that same pop.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to the next week, Tucker. We telegraphed this a little bit earlier. The Boy and the Heron.
Yep.
Has made a total of $135.4 million thus far. International with 97.5. Domestically, that means here in the U.S., with 37.8. On a budget of $95 million, the most expensive Japanese film ever made.
Holy shit.
It opened with $13 million, that being the biggest actual foreign debut of the year in North America. Yeah. Very highly received, with a 96%, an A- cinema score. Studio Ghibli's highest grossing film in the U.S. of all time.
Yeah, interesting to note here that we have the previous Hayao Miyazaki Ghibli movie down here at the bottom.
10 years ago.
10 years ago.
His last film.
Yes. This cost over 3 times more to make. How?
Okay, so
what happened?
I looked into this because I found it very interesting. So The Wind Rises comes out in 2013. Hayao Miyazaki takes a couple years. He's like, you know what? It was my last movie, and that's it. Then he's like, he gets that itch, Tucker. He gets that itch, and he's like, I got one more in me.
He got the itch a lot closer to the release of Boy and the Heron, apparently.
Well, no, actually not. The Boy and the Heron was in production for 7 years.
Wow.
And that's the thing, is that, obviously, film production overseas is a lot different. A lot of it is through government bodies and government organizations.
Yeah.
So the powers that be that were giving money to Hayao Miyazaki, after, with his legendary status, were like, you take as much time as you need. That's why this thing has this budget. It is the most expensive Japanese film ever made, just because they weren't working on a deadline. They were like, Hayao Miyazaki, you make this at your pace. So that's how that happened.
Yeah, it's interesting that it seems to have paid off in some regards, but I also do think that the fact that it took that long and cost so much is to the detriment of this film. This will not be profitable. I mean, this would have to make another like $80 million to cross into possible profitability. But I think they probably still do view it as a cultural success because
absolutely
opening big, being big in the U.S., much more so than the previous movies.
It's another triumph for legendary filmmaker Hayao Miyazaki. And you know, the Japanese film industry at large.
Yeah. But it seems like they probably took a pretty solid hit.
Well,
like,
you know.
I was like, just $100 million away. Because also, like, there aren't as many films being produced in Japan, and there aren't as many that are popular overseas. So I find it interesting that a film that is as much of a success in the way that this film has been still does have the caveat of it's not a financial success. They lost money putting this out. But I think they're probably like, yeah, like we gave him the thing. Yeah. No way in shit he sees this kind of budget for his next movie if he wants to make another one.
You don't think so?
No way in shit.
No, I think he does.
No, I don't think so. I mean, if he can make The Wind Rises for $30 million and then that makes its budget back 5 times, then you say $50 million and then it makes $150, 3 times its budget.
I don't think he takes backsies after doing something like this. Tucker, you got to think about the pull that Hayao Miyazaki has.
We'll see. We'll see.
We also don't know if he's going to make another one. He said
true.
he's going to, but we'll see. Also, I think as I mentioned when I said I wanted to put this at number 5 in my predictions, it is G-Kids who handled the Western distribution for this film. Their widest domestic release to date, debuting in 2,200 theaters on December 8th.
Yeah, and again, still showing in theaters. Still pulling in a little bit of money. But yeah, good job, Japan. You put a we don't really see many Japanese movies in theaters.
No,
I mean we saw Suzume earlier this year,
and you got to think about like how the debut of like Godzilla -1 helped this. He's like, we saw people who don't typically go to see subtitled films, which there aren't a lot to begin with in the U.S. Being like, we saw the Godzilla one that was subtitled. Might as well go see the Boy and the Heron as well.
Maybe.
And there was a dub of this out there as well.
Yes, a very good dub.
I believe the dub was much more popular in terms of box office, and that's the one that's still in theaters around us at least.
Gotcha.
It's the dub.
Sure.
So there you go. Wonk.
But then there was Wonka.
Are you ready to wonk?
I'm walking every day, every night, all the day.
$398 million total for Paul King's Timothée Chalamet's Wonka.
Yep.
Opening to $39 million, the number 1 debut of the month, on a budget of $125. Very, very warmly received with an 83% A- cinema score. Good stuff all around for Wonka.
Yeah, there's
good vibes.
There's no caveat to Wonka other than we found it kind of middling, a 6.2 for our score. That's kind of the only even somewhat negative thing on this page because it is incredibly profitable. One of the highest grossing movies of the year from the U.S. It has the potential, and as I think we predict, that it will cross over the Eras Tour 179 over the course of the next couple weeks to be the 10th highest grossing movie domestically of the year, which would give it a surprise, holy shit, this cracked into the top tier.
Yeah.
But just people liked it. They didn't love it, but they liked it, and they gave it a bunch of money, and it's a new thing, It's not an IP that's been pumping out movies a ton over the course of the last decade.
What was that been 18 years since Charlie and the Chocolate Factory? So I think this is I think they made a good move of doing this on December 15th as opposed to maybe that holiday weekend which is already stacked. You get that December 15th big opening, you get it to number 1, people are talking about it, people are hearing about it. Hey, Wonka's pretty fun, it's pretty good. Go see it with your family over Christmas.
Yes, and they did, and then that's also the reason why it's so big, continuing to be so big and holding well into January, is that there isn't the big competition that we usually see. Wonka is the big holiday 2023 film.
Absolutely.
Because everything else did fine to bad. And so because we don't have an Avatar or a Star Wars or a No Way Home, Wonka is able to continue building that buzz and get what we really need to start considering when we talk about the landscape of the film industry over the course of the end of the year is January is a dead zone, and we've always known that, but that does mean that there is space
It's
for
opening.
whatever that big movie is in middle of December to continue to hold in a way that no other film for the rest of the year has the possibility to.
Yeah, and speaking of those holds, I mean, you had it did fall to number 2 on the weekend of the 22nd to the 24th. Fell to Aquaman, which took the number 1 spot that weekend, but rebounded over the following weekend to score, another 24 million dollars.
Yeah,
it'll probably be number 1 again this weekend, the first weekend in 2024. Timothy Chalamet is unequivocally a movie star. And that's something that I want to talk about on this as well.
Sure.
Is, after the success of Dune, you're like, okay, he's a movie star, but, it also had Zendaya, it also had all these other stars in it. It was also a big, giant sci-fi epic that, very enamoring to the eye. But after basically doing a 180 in the type of movie that this is, I think you can't deny Timothée Chalamet's star power and his ability to get people in the theater.
Yeah, and that should help Dune Part 2, which comes out in just a couple months, and that'll open bigger than both of those.
Yes.
Because it's not going to be in a compromised situation like Dune was, and now that Dune was big and built a fan base over the course of being on Max and getting Oscar nominations and wins, Dune Part 2 will I could see that being like a $70 million opening.
I think so, too. I mean, I wanted to note that because this nearly matched Dune's opening debut of $41 million. And that's going to be
interesting,
that's like IMAX screens, too.
Oh, well, sure, yeah. And so I think that Dune, if it had not been an IMAX movie, would have been lower than Wonka. But I'm actually surprised that Wonka still didn't beat Dune because Dune, again, in 2021, that was a compromised movie-going time. And also, Dune kind of underperformed in terms of how much money it actually made theatrically. It could have opened bigger than that.
Dune also released day and date on Max as well.
It did, yes.
Or HBO Max at the time.
And Wonka being the big movie of this season, it is a success. But it's only a success compared to what came out around it. When it's compared to the other big movies that usually release in that December slot.
I mean, yeah.
Jumanji.
If we're comparing it to Avatar and Star Wars. Yeah.
No Way Home. This is like the smallest big December movie.
Of course.
So it's still comfortable success for Wonka. No qualms about it. But I'm actually surprised that it didn't beat Dune because this is a popular movie going time. But again, I think it probably has already outgrossed Dune. Let me get the.
You want to pull that up for you?
Yeah.
And as we mentioned, as we saw back on the opening weekends tab, this was the first of 3 Warner Brothers films to debut over the holiday
very close,
season.
very close. 402.
Okay, yeah.
So it will be Dune.
But at the time of recording, it probably already has.
Yes. Oh, good point.
Yeah.
And by the time this is uploaded, it definitely has.
will. Okay. I mentioned it a little bit. Tucker, let's move on to Warner Brothers number 2.
Yeah.
Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom.
Yeah.
$266 million for
Tanner,
Aquaman.
Shut up and salute. Moment of silence. Actually,
sure.
no moment of silence. I don't give a fuck. Moment of silence usually denotes, respect. It was so sad that this happened. You said on this, final film of the DCEU, we made it, everyone. We did. It's dead. It's over. We're finished.
If you're watching this and you are over the age of 10 years old, you outlived the DCEU. Congratulations.
What? Wait. You out...
Or you've lasted longer than the DCEU.
Over the age of 10 years old.
Yeah, because it started 10 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really hope that 10-year-olds are outliving the DCEU.
I hope so, too. Anyway, the point being, Tucker...
Oh, and you know what? Interestingly enough,
what's that?
We were mentioning these December movies, Avatar, Star Wars No Way Home. Aquaman was
First
one of those.
Aquaman.
Aquaman was the massive movie of holiday 2018.
Yes. Still the highest grossing DCEU film.
Not even close. Not even close to close.
Tucker, we've been batting around with the idea of doing a DCEU retrospective ranking.
Yes.
And I think these are conversations that can be had there as well.
Sure.
But still so funny that Aquaman is the highest performing. Yeah. Not the Batman, the movie that had Batman and Superman in it.
Not the Superman movie.
Not the Superman movie. Not the Superman movie that started it. Not
Wonder Woman.
Not Wonder Woman.
Not the fucking Justice League movie.
Not either of the Justice League movies.
What?
The one on streaming too.
Oh yeah. That didn't make any money.
No. It's very funny film
Humorous.
franchise. Very funny cinematic universe. It's just it warmed my little heart that it lasted a tight 10 years.
Exactly 10 years. Yeah, and also it warmed my heart that this movie is being trashed. It is making money compared to other movies.
Yeah.
This when you compare this to the Marvels,
yeah.
but compared to all the other
it's
DCEU
not
releases,
the worst performing of the DCEU, especially the DCEU movies of this year.
Yes.
It's not the worst performing superhero movie of this year.
But
it's still a disappointment.
No, it's still a failure.
Yeah.
I mean, budget of $205 million took forever to make this movie.
Yes.
Not as long as The Flash, but took forever to make this movie.
I had that. Went through 3 rounds of reshoots from May 2022 to June 2023.
Yeah. It's not going to make that money back. There's no way that this crosses $400 million, which is hilarious because the first one cost less and made over $1 billion. And I think that this is if the Marvels was the Marvel nail in the coffin of this is not working.
This is literally the nail in the coffin.
Yes. Well, yeah, because
it is.
The sub franchise is dead now. And it'll be very fascinating to see with I was going to say a quiet year for superhero movies this year. But the Spunk is keeping up the slack.
We have 4, if my count is correct.
Superhero movies?
3 Spunk, 1
Marvel,
1 MCU.
and then Joker.
Oh, and Joker, 5. Okay.
So 5 movies. Being a quiet year, the Spunk movies are not going to make any money because they're fucking Spunk movies, except for maybe Venom.
Maybe Venom.
For whatever reason, people like Venom.
Yep.
Deadpool actually could make a bunch of money.
We'll see.
And Joker could also make a bunch of money.
That's true.
So it might be a good year in terms of, on a numbers basis, how many of these movies are making money. I expect maybe 3 out of 5 of those to be like
profitable
successes.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see if after this down year, if interest can be recuperated by bigger releases from Marvel and the rebirth of the DC universe
going into 2025. Yes,
but Aquaman: Lost Kingdom is going to be quickly forgotten. It's going to be one of the Deadpool, not Deadpool, Green Lantern.
Oh, sure.
Daredevil, Elektra style. Really? What the fuck was that? Just like a bad, middling, stupid superhero
they
movie.
clearly just wanted to bury this immediately.
Yeah.
This film did not receive a red carpet premiere.
Insane.
They had
insane.
Fan event screenings.
Here's an interesting statistic that I don't really know. We'd have to do some really deep research for this. This might be the highest budgeted movie not to receive a premiere.
That's a great point.
It probably is. I can't imagine. I mean, this might be the highest budgeted movie to receive a premiere by like double. Like, most movies get premieres.
Yeah, that's true. It's very true. And again, this is a conversation that I want to have over when we do hopefully that DCEU video.
Yeah.
That like the different strategies that Warner Brothers took with like how they pushed their DC films of this year. The one they settled on for Aquaman was apparently just pretend it doesn't exist.
Well, yeah, it's just like try to recreate the first one a little bit, release it in the same slot. In my opinion, another point towards it just being recreating is this is a very similar movie to the first Aquaman. I mentioned this in my review.
Yeah.
We do all the same plot points. We have the exact same villain. We go to the fucking desert like we did in the first movie.
Yep. No Pitbull song this time though.
No. Yeah, bizarre movie, bad movie, very bad movie, and reflected in the Rotten Tomatoes, in the cinema score. The IMDb is fine, whatever.
Yeah, it's 6.
And the domestic opening at $27 million is hilarious.
Yeah.
That is goofy. Hold on. Let me get the Aquaman debut.
Okay. I don't know. So, Tucker, this 3.2, that's your alone score?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. I'd probably give it
domestic
somewhat
opening
similar.
of 67 for that first movie.
Okay.
$67 million.
So a $40 million up on this one.
Yeah. And again, the reason that movie was able to continue to make money is that it was released in that slot and continued to hold. People, it had solid word of mouth. I can't imagine Aquaman got the greatest word of mouth.
Hey, man.
But like,
have.
people were really into superhero movies in 2018. And so even though it only opened to 67, obviously it crossed over $1 billion. And it got a huge international split. And the international split is still very good here, actually.
Still quite good.
Frankly, if the Chinese market had as much superhero fatigue as the American one did, this wouldn't have crossed 200.
No, probably not. All right. Let's keep her moving down on the December 22nd stuff here, Tucker, with Anyone But You.
Yeah.
Budget of $25 million, has made about 43 so far. And, there was some apprehension about Anyone But You, I think.
Sure.
That first trailer was odd, drew some ire online. They subsequently sort of put out a trailer that was like, hey, we know that last one was weird, but like here's what it actually is. And it was, it's much more, that one was much more rom-com-y. Still, is divisive. 51% on Rotten Tomatoes, 6.5 on IMDb. Opened to $6 million in its weekend. Far from being like a giant smash sensation, but when you have a budget of $25 million,
doesn't take much to recuperate that.
No, you'll probably end above 50. You're gonna double it.
What I'm really looking at here that's like drawing my eye is where's the international market for this? I mean, has it not been released in some countries, which is actually possible? But the fact that it has made so little internationally, to me, says that if there are still other markets, that it could open and become profitable, crossing 50 million.
I think what you also have to realize is that Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell are new stars to many Americans, and so they're going to be not stars internationally.
Yes, absolutely.
But yeah, I noted that here as well, Tucker. This is Sydney Sweeney's first starring theatrical release.
Oh, sure, because she's been a streaming.
She's
actress.
been a TV star.
Yeah. And TV, yeah.
TV, and then streaming films primarily.
Yeah.
This is her first, and she was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood,
but barely.
Barely,
yes,
of course. But yeah, I think that this has, much like we have cemented Timothée Chalamet, I think this is a good notch in the belt for someone like Glenn Powell.
Oh, definitely. No, for both of them, absolutely. Yeah. And I hope that this is a good signal for not only their careers, but for starting to burgeon a little bit of interest in theatrical rom-coms again. I thought it was a fun movie.
Yeah, me
I
too.
thought they were both good in it.
Yeah.
I think I like both of them as actors. But because this movie wasn't fantastic, and because this movie doesn't have a star that's already a big draw, it's not a massive success.
Yeah, I looked up some other post-pandemic rom-coms as well. I mean, this obviously opened well below things like Ticket to Paradise, which was a reuniting of George Clooney and Julia Roberts. Things like Marry Me, which had Owen Wilson and J-Lo in it.
Yeah.
Other big sensation of this year, No Hard Feelings, Jennifer Lawrence. I mean,
Bigger than Bros.
Bigger than Bros. That's true.
Yeah.
It actually is. It's like the fourth biggest debut of rom-coms this year.
Holy
Above
shit!
Bros.
Oh man, Bros.
Yeah, like 4 million opening, I think.
We only made 14 total.
Yeah.
Oh.
Anyway,
So much. Bros is the best movie of all the ones we mentioned.
yeah, I think
Of course it is.
I think so.
Bros better than Ticket to Paradise and Marry Me.
No, Ticket to Paradise is really fun.
Ticket to Paradise is a good movie.
Yeah. But Anyone But You is also a very fun movie. I think this is having good hold as people sort of hear that, like, hey, it's actually not that bad as the trailers would have you believe, or the Rotten Tomatoes would have you believe.
We'll see how long it sticks around. Because I think there is a chance that it cracks 50 million and then thus becomes solidly successful.
This is
also going to be a massive streaming movie.
I was going to say the same thing. It's a Sony film.
Yeah.
It's going to go to Netflix. It's going to be huge there.
Yeah, and I think that could even be good, building up their fan base there for this movie that then, again, released in theaters. I see this hitting number 1 on Netflix when it releases.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And then, hopefully, this can be the new pair of rom-com stars. And let's say a year and a half from now, 2 years from now, the next pairing of these two, get another rom-com out there, open bigger.
Here's what I want to say.
Please.
Is that Tucker, we say, and I agree, that both of them are good in this movie.
Yeah.
They're both fun. It's very clearly, this rom-com sort of styling is very clearly Glenn Powell's cup of tea, more than Sydney Sweeney's, and I think that's okay.
Yeah.
I think she's got to maybe get a handle on her comedic timing a little bit more.
Sure.
But she is obviously, from the acclaim that she's gotten in her streaming films and obviously in Euphoria, she's a much better dramatic actress, much better actress in thrillers and things.
Yeah.
And I
did see how that pays off in Madame Web.
I did look up her upcoming films as well.
Great.
She's basically got only like drama thrillers lined up.
Okay.
And I think that'll really help. I think that'll really help her is that like she's much more accustomed to that type of genre.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. Regardless, okay, if I can retract, okay, maybe Sydney Sweeney doesn't come back, but another Glenn Powell starring vehicle.
Hitman. Also
that's
coming
true.
to Netflix.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
Should be going to theaters. Anyway, Migration.
Yep, Migration. Interesting movie. Because I saw it and I think this is far and away Illumination's best.
Sure.
I've always thought that they're the animation company that makes the kind of annoying movies.
I think many would agree with
Secret
you.
Life of Pets, all the Despicable Me movies, Sing, like, the Grinch movie, like, kid humor, fart jokes, just like, kind of like a internet lulz, kind of annoying degree. Migration, completely free of that.
Okay, really? Okay.
I think one of the most visually beautiful animated movies I've ever seen. Kumail Nanjiani really turned out his duck voice. It's awesome. But also, again, proves that even a massively successful company like Illumination. I mean, they are the animated studio that rivals,
especially this year with Mario.
Oh, absolutely, that rivals Disney and Warner Brothers and stuff. But people go to see movies that are IP, frankly.
Yeah.
And I think the reason that migration isn't as big as I would hope it to be is just that it's kind of a lost art of just putting out a movie with animated animals in it.
Yeah, I was gonna say the
like
same
Sing
thing.
has the draw.
Putting myself in the shoes of like a parent, I just look at that and like
Duck movie.
It's about ducks.
It literally is just a duck movie. There's no like
they're not singing.
Yeah, they're not. There aren't big stars in it as draws. But again, I think it's a great movie, and it is not a failure of a film. This is the lowest grossing so far movie from Illumination, which is sad. It's even below Hop.
Wow, below a Hop?
Yeah, it's below
Oh
Hop.
my god!
But I think that this also is holding pretty well.
Sure. Yeah.
Do you have any?
As many like films are doing over this holiday weekend, it actually it increased by 36% in its second week. Following that Christmas.
Yeah, it's still well below Hop. Worldwide 184.
Oh my god! What's wrong with you people going to see Hop in what year was that?
2011.
2011.
I saw it in theaters.
Also, part of the problem.
Also, Hop opened to $37 million. That's crazy.
All right. Well, the people yearn for James Marsden talking to an animated creature.
Yep. Sonic 3.
Sonic 3. What else do we got? Oh, yeah. Illumination's first original film since Sing in 2016, December 2016.
Oh, true. Yeah.
I'm not counting things like The Grinch because that's based on pre-existing material. So, and Sing grossed $634 million worldwide.
Yeah.
So there's not just... You can't do ducks. You need something. They need to be singing like Billie Eilish songs or something. I don't know. It was Universal's last release of this year, and I think as we'll talk about if we do, and hopefully when we do a 2023 recap film, Universal far and away the champion, the winner of 2023 of the movie studios.
Yeah.
A little spoiler, I guess I'll say. The only studio to not lose money on their films this year.
Holy shit. Yeah. And because Mario was budgeted responsibly.
Yes, exactly.
And then made $1 billion.
Yes. And they had like Megan around this time last year. So, yeah, good stuff all around for Universal. Just ended on a bit of a weak note.
Yeah. Though, I think it might be one of my favorite of their movies.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make you guys see Migration, and hopefully you'll see what I saw.
It's written by Mike White, which I didn't know until recently, and makes it more promising in my.
I mean, the writing's not like the best part, but like, go see Migration.
Sure.
What the fuck's wrong with you guys?
Yeah. Okay. Christmas movies, Tucker. The Color Purple. Films that open on Christmas, not that films.
You seen this one yet?
I did see this one. Not films that are about Christmas.
Oh, I have a question mark here because I didn't see it. So.
Tucker, let's get. I'm gonna give Color Purple a 6.7.
6.7?
Yeah. Good. All right. We did that live. I enjoyed that we did that live. Anyway, no international distribution for The Color Purple yet. Has made $51 million so far on a budget of $100 million. Color Purple's a bit of a disappointment at the box office. And more than a bit, I'd say. Despite it having the best Christmas Day opening in over a decade. Tucker, you want to try and guess. You wrote this one down, so it was in your mind initially. I took it off there because I wanted to quiz you. It's a 2009 film. Massive star at the lead.
Oh, Sherlock Holmes.
Sherlock Holmes in 2009 was the still holds that spot.
So funny.
Yeah.
So funny. That's a bygone series there. What the fuck?
Anyway, I think they were going to make a third one of that. I don't know if that's still happening. Anyway, the following day, the domestic earnings were only $7 million. Yes, I believe it had. I believe it was $18 million opening day on Christmas, and a 74% drop from that Christmas Day to New Year's Day. So the 1 week there. Yeah, I mean, as you said, Tucker, Christmas Day, massive day to go see movies. It showed for The Color Purple, showed a lot of promise for The Color Purple, and then as the reality of things sort of swept in, bit of a disappointment.
Yep. Yeah, I think this is, unfortunately, even though it seems to be a good movie, 87% on Rotten Tomatoes, a cinema score, people like this movie, but this is a disappointment. It's going to be a disappointment at the awards. It's going to lose a bunch of money. So I don't know. whenever you talk about a film, you got to talk about it from a couple of different angles, especially when you're talking about on the box office show like this. A film can simultaneously be a good movie but lose money, and then if it had awards potential but didn't meet that, then that's another element. And it feels like unfortunately, The Color Purple failed on a couple of its potential regards, because this could have been the Greatest Showman of this year, and then. The Greatest Showman wasn't a big awards draw, but then it could have been the West Side Story, where it's nominated for Best Picture and getting awards buzz. But it seems like it's kind of lost both of those avenues.
Something else that has come out in the last several days as the stars of this film go on the awards trail and try to drum up some buzz for some Oscar nominations and the like. Very unfortunately, I'd say, it seems that I don't know what the budget of this went towards, but there were stories of Taraji P. Henson and Danielle Brooks and Fantasia Barrino, stars of this film, being like, yeah, we didn't have our own dressing rooms.
Huh.
And there was
what are you doing, Warner Brothers?
Exactly, and, especially when you compare it to the treatment of the Barbie cast, especially who were
also WB.
Yeah, also Warner, same studio, similarly budgeted. Barbie received a massive marketing push that The Color Purple could have benefited from, but also
Color Purple also did have a long marketing cycle. I mean, we were seeing trailers of this around when Little Mermaid was coming out.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it's just sad to see some less emphasis on the treatment of your stars.
I actually have to say that it seems like the marketing cycle, at least from my perspective, kind of dropped off.
Yeah.
I don't think I saw a trailer for this within the last 2 months.
Yeah,
I was seeing them before that, and maybe I saw it once or twice, but I'm so used to the marketing cycle being like, oh God, I'm tired of this trailer at this point. I was never tired of the Color Purple trailer. I probably saw it 5 times.
Yeah.
I go to the theater every week. If I'm not seeing the trailer for your new movie that you want to push for the holiday season, what the fuck?
I mean, it might have been an effort on Warner Brothers' part to sort of scrimp on marketing to save some overall money.
You remember last year? At the end of last year when we were like, Warner Brothers doesn't have money to put out movies. Remember that?
I do remember that.
Warner Brothers put out a lot of movies this year, so it seems like they were able to course correct, and mostly probably because of Barbie. But we were watching, we were talking about Don't Worry, Darling.
Oh,
Black
sure.
Adam.
Yes.
And how those movies both lost money. And then we were like, they're literally surviving by the skin of someone else's teeth.
Yeah. Don't worry, Tucker. Big Daddy Z came in there. He cleaned it all up. He's canceling movies for tax breaks.
It seems like that might have actually saved the company, though.
No, Barbie saved the company.
Sure, that's true.
Barbie saved the company. Let's be categorical here. Nothing that David Zaslav has done has had a marked improvement on Warner Brothers' position.
Well, sorry, Color Purple.
Yeah. Last film we're going to talk about here today, Tucker, is Michael Mann's Ferrari. Another bit of a disappointment.
I forgot that I typed down that this movie had a $95 million budget.
Yeah. Yeah. Big budget for Ferrari.
And for what?
I don't know.
And for what?
Cars? Probably cars.
Yeah, I guess
those
so.
cars are probably really expensive.
Yeah.
Anyway, $20 million so far at the box office. Opened to 5.6. Well liked. Got a B cinema score. Little low for Ferrari. 73% on Rotten Tomatoes. Well respected there. But debuted to number 6 on Christmas Day. Behind new releases. The number 4 movie being The Boys in the Boat, and then number 1 movie being The Color Purple.
Yeah.
Boys in the Boat was kind of a big sensation. You know, big fan, just that one is definitely I can envision. I don't watch TV, Tucker.
Sure.
But I can envision TV spots for that movie.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I see that.
Yeah.
The Boys in the Boat in theaters, Christmas Day.
George Clooney appeals
Directed by George Clooney,
Yeah. And he appeals to the kind of dads that are watching TV.
Absolutely.
That are going to see those TV spots.
But Ferrari, also a big dad movie. Dad's not showing out for it, apparently.
Nope.
Not enough dads, anyway.
Only the boys.
Only the boys are showing out for Michael
Our friend
Mann.
Joe saw it this morning.
That's true.
Our friend Sam.
So add about $5 to that.
Oh, that's true. That's true, yeah. If he paid for it.
That's true. Well, actually, no. It's movie flex.
So he didn't, yeah.
But it's subsidized by the theater, I assume. I don't know.
Yes.
Anyway, so there's not a lot to say about Ferrari. So I looked into Michael Mann's other, films and how they performed at the box office, because that's what the show is about. Unfortunate trend for Mr. Mann, a beloved director in critical circles.
A beloved director 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, his last profitable film was now 20 years ago with Collateral,
Jesus
which was
Christ.
also massively profitable. A $217 million worldwide haul on a $60 million budget.
I guess that's just the Tom Cruise factor.
Yeah, exactly. It's absolutely the Tom Cruise factor. And before that, I think even his films between that were not profitable until Heat. Heat was his big.
Yeah.
That was huge.
He was also early on. It was like his second or third movie.
Yeah.
And then he had a run of hits.
Yes.
Back to back. Last of the Mohicans, Thief. Like those are big movies. And then he's unfortunately just one of those '90s directors that is just, frankly, people don't care.
Yeah.
Frankly. And you'd think, okay, I was gonna say Enzo Ferrari, but his name is Adam Driver. How good he was in the role.
Melted into the role.
Adam Driver is a popular actor. He's not a box office draw.
No, not quite yet.
He is to us.
He is to us, for sure.
We're also sickos.
That's true. And, I was going to mention, Michael Mann has confirmed that Heat 2 is his next film. Yeah. It will begin shooting at some point this year.
That'll be a fascinating one to see.
Because it's going to have Adam Driver, almost certainly. I don't believe they've cast the other... I haven't seen Heat, but there's sort of like the two big roles, Pacino and De Niro.
Yeah.
They have not cast the younger version of one of those roles. But I believe also De Niro and Pacino are returning. Heat 2 is like based on the novel that Michael Mann wrote.
Yeah.
It's a prequel and a sequel, sort of like split its time.
Now let me make a prediction here. It's January now.
Yeah.
January 2024. Collateral will continue to be the last profitable movie that Michael Mann made.
Tucker, you might not be wrong.
I mean, Heat 2 is going to cost like $150 million, and it's going to end up at like 100 worldwide.
Hey, you never know.
It could be a hit. I'm putting in my 2 cents now.
People could be in Heat. Put that in the comments.
Adam Driver?
Are you going to be in Heat for Adam Driver?
Adam Driver is in Heat. Robert De Niro is in Heat.
God, you better believe it. You better believe they are. All right.
Book it in now. Backlot Banter title for Heat 2. We are in Heat.
We are in Heat.
We are in Heat parentheses 2.
Yes. Okay. Other movies that we didn't end up talking about, but also released on the 22nd to the 25th or whatever. Boys in the Boat, I mentioned. The Iron Claw is doing quite well. So yeah.
And again, we how many movies we talk about here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And we still missed a couple.
Exactly.
Very, very busy month.
Yeah. But last time on Backlot Banter, we also had a busy month.
Funny November.
The month of November. The Marvels. Tucker, when you talked about it, it had made a worldwide total of $189 million. It is now at $206.
Yep.
After 5 more weeks.
What a massive fucking failure that movie is. Jesus Christ. I mean, legendarily bad. Holy God.
I mean, it looked really bad when you compare it to something like Hunger Games and the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes.
What about when you compare it to Aquaman?
That's true. That's true. Aquaman's already made $60 million more than the Marvels. That's sad. Anyway, I was going to say...
Aquaman, much worse movie.
Yeah, I think so. I prefer the Marvels. Anyway, Songbirds and Snakes, Tucker. Last time we talked about it, 197. Week 8, 326.
Yeah.
Might I remind you, $100 million budget on this baby.
This is a really comfortable, very successful film of this year. And it's awesome to see a movie like this just continue to hold. And again, this is other not Star Wars, not Marvel, not DC IP gaining some ground back in terms of which studios and which actors and which world designs people are going for. And it seems like Hunger Games, especially because it held super well.
Yeah.
We were like, yeah, this is a good success the first time, but I mean, almost doubling what it was at in week 3 means it had legs to heaven.
I was at the exactly.
It's kind of one of the leggiest movies of the year.
I was at the theater on January 1st to catch up on some releases that I had missed over vacation.
You saw 3 movies that day, right?
I did.
That's crazy.
Hunger Games: The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. That theater was like 80% full. Aquaman, like big screen, ultra screen, had like 7 seats sold.
Holy shit!
It was incredible to bear witness to.
Oh my God!
Yeah, Trolls is doing fairly well, but still kind of a disappointment, I think, from hearing conjecture and things of people talking about box office. Has made $200 million so far. Not exactly like the big children's hit of the year, though. A lot of talk about it. I've heard a lot of people talking about Trolls 3.
Why? I mean, in what way?
In the way that it's good,
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, people on TikTok being like, oh, this song from it was so catchy or whatever. I was like, yeah, it's a massively successful pop song. Of course it's catchy.
Yeah. But also, still a successful film. It made its budget back. And Trolls is also one of those movies, because it's a kids' animated film, that making it profitable in the theatrical market is good, but it's not the end of the deal, because this is selling toys, it's selling lunchboxes and backpacks, and whenever it hits streaming, that's going to be fucking massive.
Yeah.
So this is still a successful
Absolutely.
film. It's not a smash like the first one was, which made 350, but also it's definitely come back from Band Together, released during the pandemic, that made 50. No, this is Band Together, World Tour.
Yes.
Sorry, I've only seen the first one.
I haven't seen any of them.
Of course you haven't. Why have I seen Trolls?
Wish.
Tanner?
Yeah?
Corn me dinkles.
Glormy Dingles. Wish has made $180 million so far.
Yeah.
A budget of $200 million
Yeah.
on Wish, if you remember. Bad stuff.
Yep.
Hey, did I mention Wish was a flop? Has anyone mentioned that yet?
That's crazy.
And Napoleon has just made back its budget, I think, worldwide, with $207 million worldwide.
Yeah, but can we apply the same logic to Michael Mann and be like, when was Ridley Scott's last profitable movie?
Ooh.
Must have been one of the Alien ones, right?
Probably like Covenant of Prometheus.
Yeah. But hey, Gladiator 2 this year, baby.
Gladiator 2.
Holy shit. Thank you, Ridley Scott. Thank you, honestly. I like the guy. Keep on trucking.
Remember he had another movie announced recently that he's like, I'm working on a movie called Bomb.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And
I
it
can't
sounds
wait.
so cool.
Remember we put out 2 movies like a month and a half apart?
I do remember
What the fuck was up with that?
he missed a year.
Yeah.
He's like, I gotta put a 2 out. I gotta keep the conveyor belt rolling.
Holy shit.
Anyway, month versus month, 2023 versus 2022.
Yeah. So interesting. In my mind, when I was putting this down, I'm like, dude, I loved Migration.
Yeah.
I loved Godzilla -1.
Yeah.
This was an awesome month. It was a good month, especially when you look at the top. When we were looking at the cinema scores and the Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah, good month. But last month, you said something at the very beginning of this, is usually December is stacked. Not so with 2022.
Oh, wow.
Look at it. The only major theatrical release of that month, Avatar: The Way of Water. Of course, third highest.
People are moving out of the way of Avatar.
Yeah, of course they are. But and then Puss in Boots will be able to hold into the beginning of the year. But I put all the movies that we reviewed on here, but there just weren't any other really releases. Whitney Houston. What was the?
I Want to Dance with Somebody.
Yeah, that was one of them. But like,
we didn't see that.
Incredibly light month last year. And if we look at the bottom here, Whale, small movie. Babylon, insane flop. Empire of Light, small movie.
Yep.
Violent Night, comfortable, but not the kind of movie that you like.
Yeah, that was a week 1 December. Yeah.
But then I'm looking at these movies and I'm like, no wait. Basically every movie I saw that month was really good.
Yeah.
Like really good. Like Babylon and Avatar: The Way of Water and The Whale are 3 of my favorite movies of all time. Good. Yeah. Like holy shit.
I mean, hey, I mean. Yeah, and then you look at that as like, I love Boy and the Heron, and I reviewed that with Abram. I mean, we loved Godzilla -1, and then Wonka we thought was fine. Anyone But You is like solid, solid to good. Aquaman is really bad, and Migration is good.
And no bad movies last year in 2022 in terms of the 6 that I chose here.
Yeah.
If Violent Night had been better, and Violent Night's a fine movie.
Violent Night's fine.
It's a fine movie.
It's fun.
But if Violent Night had been like an 8 out of 10, like David Harbour's like going fucking nuts, this would have been like an 8.5 out of 10 month.
That's nuts. All right. What else? Oh, headlines.
I just wanted to use this to say like, holy shit, December 2022 was kind of killer.
It was
even though
killer.
Basically no movies came out because they were like, James Cameron is coming.
Anyway, headline sucker.
Oh yeah.
Big month for A24. Big A24 moves. Things there being they have signed an exclusive streaming deal with Max.
This is a lot of big stuff here.
The entire A24 catalog will now be available on Max, and I believe they're not doing. I remember reading they're not doing VOD releases. After the movies are done theatrically, they're going to Max.
Holy shit, they must have got so much money from Warner Brothers.
Yeah,
I bet.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because A24 movies do fine on VOD.
Yeah.
I mean, they're the kind of movies that like have an interesting premise and are from like an interesting director, and so people just like scrolling through like, oh, that looks kind of strange, and they'll like click and buy it. But,
I believe
holy shit,
it's a streaming.
Has this ever happened before?
I don't know.
No. I mean, of course, like from Netflix or from well, Amazon Prime usually puts their movies out to buy separately, but like. Netflix movies or straight to Max movies or whatever don't usually get VOD releases, but like from a theatrical studio, this has got to be one of the first times it ever happened.
Yeah, it's big. It's pretty big for Max especially.
Yeah,
to get A24 on board.
Yeah. And then the other things here, I was looking through this. I'm like, Jesus Christ! Like A24 is really making massive fucking moves. Civil War trailer comes out. We'll see what happens with that movie. It actually it has potential to be like.
I'm gonna look up the Civil War budget for you here real quick.
Isn't it their highest budgeted movie?
I believe it is, but I want to remember what the number is.
Yeah. I saw the Civil War trailer. I'm very interested by that movie.
Me too.
And then making a deal with Kojima for the Death Stranding film, and The Rock saying, "Look, I want to make a like down to earth human A24 movie." The Rock is one of the biggest box office draws, like unequivocally right now. If him being in an A24 like I expect The Rock's movie and the Death Stranding movie to be the two highest grossing A24 movies.
Yeah. Civil War budget $50 million, by the way.
Okay, that's pretty big.
It's pretty big for A24.
Yeah.
You remember what The Rock's movie is called? You know what it's called?
No, I didn't know it had a name.
The Smashing Machine.
Is there a plot? What is it about?
Well, it's a biopic about a UFC fighter named.
Oh, okay.
I forget what the guy's name, but he's. Hey, okay. I looked at a picture of the guy. I was like, yeah, it makes sense that The Rock is the only guy that could play him.
Yeah. That's interesting. Okay, now that I know it's a biopic, I'm not quite sure. I'm not as sold on this being like a massive box office.
I mean, it's gonna be
but I'm sure Dwayne Johnson will promote this. Like,
yeah, 100%.
Like, he's gonna go hard on this. So I actually could see this being like the biggest marketing campaign A24.
Here's what I think. I think it'll be fine because the movie is largely going to be about The Rock probably being the biggest he's ever looked in years because he's got to play like a giant UFC fighter.
Yeah.
Beating people up in a UFC ring. I think that gets people in seats.
And if you get a trailer that's not like, oh, you know, biopic-y sad thing, and more like The Rock is beat him up.
Yeah.
You put some rock music behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Because also teaming up with Dwayne Johnson and Hideo Kojima, these are two people that they want their stuff to be the biggest thing that humanity has ever seen.
Yeah.
They want it popular. They want to sell merch. They want to just have their face everywhere. And so both of these guys, I think they can catapult A24 to much bigger theatrical prominence.
Yeah, I mean, Tucker, you played Death Stranding.
A little bit of it, yeah.
They're making a film of it. We kind of glossed over that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
And again, Hideo Kojima, he cuts his own trailers. He produces everything about his games, and he probably will with this film.
We were talking. He might direct it as well.
Yeah, probably. And also another thing about Hideo Kojima, he knows everyone.
That's true.
The cast for the Death Stranding movie is going to be insane.
Yeah.
Because he's also friends with these people. So the budget, it'll be big, but I don't expect it to be massive because the cast is massive.
They're not expecting like a big paycheck. Yeah, I'll be in my friend Hideo's Death Stranding movie.
Absolutely. And Tanner, you know who he's friends with?
Who is he?
Timothy Chalamet.
Whoa!
and now OD coming out with
with
other actors in it, and Death Stranding had cameos, and it's probably a star Norman Reedus. Like A24, like what, 2 or 3 months ago, they were like, we want franchises.
Yes.
We want to like really boost our prominence. And
they
people were
did
like, I don't know, but these two are like guaranteed.
These are the
deals.
moves. These are the moves right here. Getting The Rock on board,
Yeah.
getting a popular IP with Death Stranding,
Yeah.
Putting out what is probably going to be what's being marketed as like their big blockbuster movie in Civil War,
Yeah.
signing a streaming exclusivity deal with a very popular streaming platform. They're making the big moves.
But I also think that these are the right moves because this isn't them being like, oh, we want, I don't know, the like Jolly Green Giant IP. Or I'm just like pulling something out of my hat.
I'd love a dark and moody Jolly Green Giant film.
But my point isn't like, oh, they didn't like go buy the IP of Friday the 13th or whatever.
Yeah.
These are new cinematic IP, but because they are with they're with Hideo Kojima and Dwayne Johnson, and I'm not quite so sure about Alex Garland. These will be successful and could have sequels and will be their IP. They will be these financially successful films from A24, although a lot of their movies are.
Yeah.
That will be much bigger than their previous, but they retain a little bit of that spirit of
time will tell. But of course, I mean, there's still my big concern was like, are they going to sacrifice their like the movies that they put out from first time directors, their small indie projects? For the time being, that doesn't seem to be the case. They're still they're greenlighting maybe more of those than ever. It seems like.
And you know what's interesting? I bet they'll also be producing the next Daniels film.
Absolutely, they will.
And that'll be a fucking smash.
Yeah.
A24,
okay.
good on you.
Good on you. We got to move on though. Lee Winnell's Wolfman is coming out in October 25th of 2024.
Tanner?
Yeah.
Likely place for it to be.
Yeah. Starring Christopher Abbott and Julia Gardner was just announced to join the cast as well.
Also, I believe from our research the other day, that's the next Blumhouse movie?
Well, Imaginary.
Oh, and Imaginary, yeah. But then they have they're off for 7 months or whatever.
Exactly. Let's see. Marvel Studios fires Jonathan Majors. That was a big story. I mean, everyone probably knows.
Yes,
everyone
likely place for him to be.
Yeah,
fired.
in prison.
Unemployed.
Good
morning, America.
Good morning. We're recording this the day before that interview happens, so that could be a whole fucking shit show. It will be a whole shit show, I'm sure. Anyway, Warner Bros. Discovery and Paramount are reportedly exploring a merger.
I believe there was another report that isn't going to happen.
Yeah, that it might have just been a meeting, but Paramount...
Well, we will talk about that if it happens.
Yeah, Paramount has been looking to maybe sell part of its shares, a majority of its shares. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Sadly, sad news, Tucker, here. Jordan Peele's next film has been removed from the Universal release calendar. It was supposed to come out Christmas 2024. Yeah. Jordan Peele teasing us about it. He said, I think it's going to be my coolest movie I've ever made. I was like...
Also, we're not getting this year, bitches.
No. Why would you show it to me if I can't have it? Anyway. Wolves, Tucker, directed by John Watts, starring George Clooney and Brad Pitt, is releasing in September 20th of this year.
What's this movie about?
It's about two lone hitman, assassin, con men, something like that.
Tanner? Could be big.
Could be big. George Clooney, Brad Pitt.
And John Watts is a financially successful director.
I believe it's Apple doing this as well, but they're doing their theatrical release.
They're good at theatrical releases. I also don't think this is a movie with a massive budget.
Yeah.
Because the other Apple theatrical releases are Killers of the Flower Moon and Napoleon, which have massive budgets and have no chance in shit of being profitable.
Yeah.
But a smaller movie with two big stars.
Crime thriller, probably some comedy in there too. Yeah.
I think this could be big. I didn't even know this was happening until just now. Lock that down for a successful September film.
Yeah. There are 2 Steamboat Willie horror films confirmed, probably more on the way.
I want to say, last night, I'm sitting with Rachel Willis, and she's like, are they going to do any horror movies about Mickey Mouse now? I'm like, they're already announcing them.
already cooking.
But this is how far that this has reached.
Yeah,
my girlfriend, who does not see films, doesn't like horror movies, is like, this is probably going to be a thing, right?
Yeah. Hey, it's a thing. If they get theatrically distributed, excuse me, we've been recording for a while. We'll be watching them. We'll be reviewing them.
Yep.
Okay. Jack Black is in Minecraft. He's the lead of Minecraft.
Is it wrong that he's Minecraft Steve? I saw that somewhere.
No, the movie's about guy in real life.
Jason Momoa guy.
But no, I think... Oh, yeah, Jason Momoa guy. So, yeah, he probably is Steve. I think he's Steve. Yeah.
What the fuck is this movie going to be? I can't wait. Jack Black is the perfect kind of okay, I'll say it for if he's on board, I believe there's something.
He's also
here.
the video game guy now because he's in Mario. He's in Borderlands.
Yeah.
He's in Minecraft.
Oh, he's going to be such a good Claptrap.
Yeah.
He's Claptrap, right?
He's Claptrap.
Yeah. That's so funny. I can't wait.
And Steven Yeun has departed from the Thunderbolts. I think it was confirmed accidentally by somebody else. I think Robert Kirkman or something, that he was going to be playing Sentry.
Yeah.
So the Thunderbolts has lost its Sentry.
Yeah.
It's main antagonist kind of the film.
And this movie's coming out next year. What the fuck is going to happen here? I did actually I did see from Steven Yeun though that he didn't want this to happen.
There's scheduling issues.
And he's like, I worked for 10 hours to craft this email. I'm so sorry that I have to leave. So it doesn't seem like there's any bad blood necessarily. Which is good. He would have been really cool as a all-powerful, omnipresent fucking supervillain.
Apparently, what he is leaving this movie though for is Lee Isaac Chung's next movie.
Oh sure.
His next indie film.
Yeah.
Which is cool. Hey.
Honestly, better fit.
But a better career move, I'd say.
A lot of fun announcements here. This is a good month for headlines.
Okay. Talking January 2024. Involuntary
Oh, sorry,
reaction.
I just saw the January 2024 releases.
The month that we are currently in. Releases include Night Swim, which we've already seen and reviewed on this channel. This coming weekend is January 12th. There are 3 releases. Mean Girls, The Book of Clarence, and The Beekeeper.
Yep.
January 19th is the release of ISS and limited release of Ava DuVernay's Origin. And January 26th, to round out the month, is the release of Miller's Girl and wide release of Origin.
I didn't realize Miller's Girl was a theatrical film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure not a lot of theaters, Tucker.
Yeah,
I'm sure not a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then let's see what we think will be making money.
It seems obvious to me.
It does seem obvious. I think there's No, yeah, I know. There's no caveats here.
Yeah.
It's like, but also I just don't care. Like, I didn't even think about making predictions until yesterday. I was driving, like, oh, I didn't make January predictions.
Yep.
I don't care about any of these movies.
Yeah.
January, classic January.
I mean, I have to care about ISS because it's my birthday movie,
Yep.
and I think it looks pretty. I think it looks pretty good. But who's gonna keep that on the down low? Anyway, we'll have fun with the Beekeeper.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've been needing that movie for a year, so like, that's free food for us.
Oh yeah, it's free honey.
Tanner, we did it.
Anyway, thank you for joining us for this recap of December 2023, the month that was, and somewhat of the year that was 2023. As I mentioned, we'll be hopefully doing a 2023 recap, year in review sort of thing. We'll have to hash out what that all is, but stay tuned for that and more. Thanks for watching.